Canada. It's a name synonymous with stability, once praised for its stable economy and strong financial system, is now facing an economic crisis of unprecedented proportions. Rising debt, soaring inflation, and declining productivity are pushing Canadian families to the brink. So, what went wrong? The national debt is spiraling out of control. The Canadian government recently announced a record $370 billion budget for 2024 to 2025, with a projected deficit of $39.6 billion. This brings Canada's debt-to-GDP ratio to a staggering 45%, raising concerns about the country's financial stability and long-term economic health. With deficits increasing every year, Canada's financial outlook has become a source of concern for many. Household debt in Canada is another growing issue. Many families are struggling with skyrocketing mortgage costs and rental inflation, which peaked at 8.2% earlier this year. With mortgage interest rates climbing to 5%, Canadians are finding it increasingly difficult to manage their finances. The pressure of higher housing costs has led many families to put their homes up for sale or face foreclosure. Inflation has hit essential goods the hardest. Grocery prices have surged by 19% since October 2021, putting immense pressure on Canadian families. Despite the government's efforts to curb inflation, many are still facing the harsh reality of increased living costs. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, may have slightly improved, but the financial burden on Canadians continues to grow. The government's spending habits have also come under scrutiny. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, Canada has seen a drastic increase in public expenditure. This has resulted in a persistent fiscal deficit and raised the question, how sustainable are these policies in the long term? Canada's economic performance lags behind its G7 counterparts. The OECD predicts that from 2030 to 2060, Canada will be the worst-performing advanced economy. Compared to countries like the United States and Germany, Canada's productivity and GDP growth have slowed significantly, and the nation's debt continues to climb. Key industries like oil and gas, manufacturing, and technology are also struggling. Declining global oil prices and regulatory challenges have hit Canada's energy sector hard. Meanwhile, the technology and manufacturing industries are finding it difficult to compete internationally. Job losses are increasing, and the contribution of these sectors to the GDP is shrinking. Public opinion reflects growing frustration and pessimism. More and more Canadians are losing confidence in their economic future. A recent survey showed that a majority of citizens are concerned about rising debt and believe the government is not doing enough to address these issues. Economists are sounding the alarm as well. Many experts warn that if Canada does not implement sustainable fiscal policies and focus on increasing productivity, the nation could face a deeper economic crisis. Without significant policy reforms, Canada's future growth prospects look bleak. Internationally, Canada's economic decline is starting to affect its reputation. Foreign investors are growing wary, and foreign direct investment has declined sharply. Canada risks becoming a less attractive destination for global capital, further hindering its economic recovery. As the economic crisis deepens, social tensions are rising. The frequent use of police forces to manage protests and civil unrest points to a broader discontent. The economic instability is not just a financial issue, it's becoming a social one as well. As Canadian families grapple with the realities of a weakening economy, one question remains: what will it take to restore stability and confidence? The road ahead is uncertain, but the time for action is now. Canadians deserve a comprehensive strategy to tackle rising debt, inflation, and declining productivity before the country's financial health deteriorates further.